You haven't stumbled upon this video by mere coincidence. Thoth has unveiled the power of self-healing that can eradicate disease, a secret they don't want you to uncover. There's an inner voice within you crying for help, but you're unsure how to identify it. It's not physical pain, it's a disorganized frequency in your energy field. If you're hearing this now, it's because the call has begun. Your body didn't break by accident or as a punishment. It broke because it holds on to information that was never released. Thoth knew this even before modern medicine existed. He taught what science is only beginning to discover, that the body responds to vibration, and where there is frequency, there is healing. However, this knowledge was silenced, because if you find out what you're about to hear, no one profits from your illness anymore. You're going to understand why, even when you eat well, meditate, and believe, your body still gets sick. You'll discover the vibrational code that Thoth revealed, which dissolves symptoms at their root. At the end of this video, you'll receive the ritual that activates this self-healing. But don't skip ahead. If you leave now, the field won't be activated, because frequency only responds when you're present, and the activation starts now. The soul has its own healing mechanism, but it requires silence to operate. Thoth's teachings became unacceptable to the system because they reveal what has always been hidden. Disease never starts in the body, it only ends there. It is the final point of an invisible process that began long before, on levels that science still hesitates to accept, but that Thoth already described with precision. Everything physical is born from the invisible. Everything visible is a reflection of what has already been vibrated. You feel before you get sick. You just weren't taught to notice. Perhaps that exhaustion you called routine was already the beginning. That recurring irritation you learned to normalize. That mild anxiety that always shows up before bed. That feeling in your chest, hard to explain, but constant. Signs from the field. Misaligned vibrations trying to manifest in some way. But you didn't listen, and then the body screamed. What Thoth said wasn't just a philosophical metaphor. He was literal when he declared, "Everything is mind. The universe is mental." Because everything that exists out there first passed through within. Nothing happens outside of consciousness. Nothing is external without first being internal. And if the mind is the origin of everything, where else could disease be born? The mind isn't just thought, it's a field, a vibration, and every vibrational pattern you emit, even unknowingly, shapes the architecture of your physical body. Picture your mind as a broadcasting source and your body as the receiver. What leaves the field reaches the flesh. What repeats materializes. What isn't heard turns into pain. That's why diseases aren't punishments. They're messages. The universe doesn't punish. It reveals. Disease is a code, an energetic alert, an attempt by the body to translate into matter something the spirit couldn't express in any other way. Every illness carries a request to be heard, a vibrational call crying out for realignment, for presence, for truth. The problem is, we were taught to fight the symptom and ignore the meaning. Inflammation isn't just a biological process. It could be bottled up anger, an emotional knot you didn't let express itself. A sore throat might be an unspoken truth. A skin wound could be a violated boundary. Chronic pain might be the repetition of an old emotional pattern that was never resolved. But when you see disease as the enemy, you shut down the healing channel. True healing begins when you ask, "What is this trying to show me?" It's not easy to hear the answer because it almost always points to something you've avoided feeling for a long time. A forgiveness not given, a choice denied, a grief not lived, a truth silenced by the need to please. But the body remembers, the field records, the energy collects, and until you listen, it repeats until one day the pain becomes big enough to stop you. And there, in the middle of the breakdown, the opportunity appears. You can keep fighting your body, or you can listen to what it's always been trying to say. And when you listen, everything changes, because suffering is only necessary when the subtle language hasn't been understood. When you learn to interpret the signals of the field, you no longer need to wait for pain to evolve. You start changing through awareness, no longer through crisis. Thoth knew this, and he went further, because he didn't just say where diseases are born, he taught how to dissolve them. But this knowledge wasn't offered to just anyone, because it couldn't be accessed with the common linear, analytical mind. It required something more, a state of vibrational truth, a point of inner purity where information stopped being theory and became transformation. And that's where everything starts to deepen, because Thoth's method wasn't a set of techniques. It was a key, a frequency, a code that only revealed itself when you were ready to step out of the illusion. They know the body can heal, but they don't want you to find out. This illusion started early, long before you knew what was real. The world had already taught you what wasn't possible. With your mind still expanding, your field was completely open. No filters, no blocks, fully receptive. Until about 7 years old, you lived in a state of vibrational hypnosis. Yes, hypnosis. Your brain operated mostly in theta waves, the same state induced during deep meditation or therapeutic trance. Except in that childhood phase, it was natural. You were in total absorption mode, and everything you heard became code. Everything you felt became frequency. Everything ignored became internal noise. Every word said, in anger, every look of rejection, every unnamed emotion, every time you were told you had to earn love, every moment you had to adapt just to be accepted. None of it was lost. All of it was recorded, not by the logical mind, but by your field. And it's this field, this invisible fabric surrounding your body, that still carries memories you don't even know you have, but that shape every choice you make. Science calls this the subconscious, a repository of information that governs about 95% of your daily actions. But Thoth called it something else. Personal Akasha. The Akasha is like a vibrational book of your soul. It doesn't contain words, but records impressions, frequencies. It doesn't judge or interpret. It simply records, and everything inside it is still vibrating now. That's why you can do everything: diet, exercise, meditation, therapy, and still feel like something's off, because your field is operating from memories that contradict your conscious intentions. You want health, but you vibrate fear. You want abundance, but you vibrate inherited scarcity. You want to be seen, but carry the trauma of being invisible. And the field doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you vibrate. That's the dilemma, because most people try to change their lives through external effort. But the real turning point is internal, silent, subtle. It lies in this field where all the beliefs that aren't yours, but that you repeat, are stored. Inherited beliefs, transferred energies, sentences that became destiny. And all of it can be reprogrammed. Yes, reprogrammed. But not with empty phrases or superficial techniques, because the field doesn't hear words, it hears frequencies. And every frequency has a code, a key, a precise vibration that resonates with the exact point where the original information was recorded. And that's where Thoth's teachings become dangerous again, because he discovered how to access that code. But he never delivered it directly. He spoke in fragments, in metaphors, because he knew only those who vibrated in resonance would understand. Because that frequency, you don't recognize it with your mind. You feel it in your body, and it's about to manifest in this video. And when that frequency starts to manifest in the field, something inevitable happens. The body listens. Yes, the body listens to what the mind hasn't yet understood because it was designed for that, to respond, adapt, vibrate like a biological antenna, sensitive to the subtlest emotions and the soul's invisible commands. But here's the most delicate point. The body knows how to heal itself. It always has. This intelligence wasn't created in labs or dependent on external formulas. It's there, coded in every cell from the beginning of your existence, like a hidden program just waiting for the right signal to activate. And that signal doesn't come from medication or diagnosis. It comes from vibrational coherence. The problem is, there's an entire industry profiting off the forgetting of that program. A structure built on the idea that you're fragile, that you need something external to keep functioning, that you're not capable of understanding your own body without a middleman. And this isn't theory, it's a pattern that suppresses masters, erases records, ridicules anyone who dares to remember that life exists beyond matter. Thoth was one of them, and like many others, his teachings were distorted, hidden, or turned into legend. They turned wisdom into superstition, called a myth what should have been studied as vibrational technology. But why? Because if you understand that disease has a frequency, then you'll understand it can be dissolved. And if you understand that, you stop being a hostage, you stop being a consumer, you stop searching outside and start vibrating from within. This is where one of the most neglected, but also most powerful hermetic laws comes in. The law of vibration. This law says the following: nothing is still, everything vibrates, everything moves, everything pulses. This means that even what we call disease is not static, not permanent, not something fixed in the body like a lifeless rock. On the contrary, it vibrates, it pulses, it occupies a certain frequency range. And if everything that vibrates can be tuned, then everything that gets sick can be healed. Bioresonance studies have already shown that the body changes its base frequency when it receives commands accompanied by coherent emotion. Modern science is now beginning to confirm what Thoth taught thousands of years ago in symbolic language. Vibration is the most powerful medicine, and he knew it. That's why he left these instructions hidden in hermetic texts, not as a mystical recipe for the few, but as a vibrational technology accessible to anyone who was ready. And now that you've made it this far, something in you has already been activated, because once this information enters, it never leaves. It vibrates, it echoes, it touches the parts of you that were asleep, just waiting for a reminder. And that reminder happened now. You can't pretend you don't know anymore. The code has been revealed, and if you apply it, even for a moment, the field responds because vibration recognizes who's ready. And if you felt something in this video, it's because your body heard, your soul responded. Healing isn't a future promise, it's a memory being reactivated. Thoth didn't sell miracles. He taught sovereignty. He showed the way back to the point of origin, to the state where disease doesn't exist because there's no room for it anymore. And now that truth is in your hands. If you feel something has changed in you, then it really has. And you don't have to stop here because a next step has already been carefully prepared to continue this activation. Click on the video on the screen now. Let's finish this vibrational reprogramming together, because this is the beginning of everything. If you've made it this far, don't ignore what you're feeling now. This video wasn't just an explanation. It was an activation. Write in the comments, "I remember my healing." This anchors the frequency in your field and might awaken others who read it. And if in any way this content touched something inside you and you want to help spread more messages like this across the world, there's a special contribution space in the first pinned comment. Every bit of help vibrates, every vibration echoes, and this mission is ours. And don't leave yet. A special video has been prepared for you to take the next step in this vibrational journey. It's waiting for you on the screen now. Click so we can meet there and continue this activation together.